We are back with three people who have dedicated their lives to helping our children get the best out of their education. Paul Castro is with Region 4 Education Service Center. Dr. Rebecca Brown is the superintendent of Dickinson ISD. They don't start until Thursday. That's why she was able to squeeze a few minutes out for us today. And Evan Weinberger's program, Staying Ahead of the Game, helps kids get unstuck with tutoring and by learning executive functioning skills, among other things, to help them understand and carry out the assignment. All right, let's go back to our questions. This one is from Darnell. Darnell says, my son's a smart kid, but he hates school. I know he's frustrating to his teachers as he is to us. What can I do when the motivation just isn't there? We've tried incentive and disincentive, taking away video games and even paying him for good grades. He just doesn't care. That is a tough kid to reach sometimes. I know my son and I had our own battles around that.
I'll jump in on this one. So, I think of motivation as more of an outcome than a predictor, right? So traditionally we think we do things because we're motivated.
Yeah.
I think no. I think we're inherently motivated. When we see something that appears to be a lack of motivation, usually you can tie that back to an event or a series of events or experiences. So I would be interested, of course, incentives, make sure their kids can't see really far into the future, right? So make sure, something affects this weekend or at the end of the month or the end of the week, maybe even sometimes the end of the day. But if that doesn't address the issue, I would start looking at what's going on socially, what's going on in terms of potential learning differences. Are we studying and putting 110% into things and not seeing results? After experiencing that a few times, everybody feels a lack of motivation.
And sometimes we see kids, especially today's culture of, we see people who are just so successful because they woke up, right? I woke up today and I made $1 billion, right? But sometimes the fear of failure can be paralyzing. And sometimes you look in your own household, if you have two go-get-em parents, you're afraid you won't rise to the occasion. So sit down and talk to your child. You know the information. What is stopping you from carrying through on this assignment? And then, of course, praise when you do well on it always feels good. All right, Annie, my daughter is a good student. We know plagiarism isn't allowed, and they are smart programs to catch it. Things are different now. Last year, she was accused of letting AI craft her essay and got an F. I believe she did not cheat and wrote her own essay. It sounds like her. That completely knocked the wind out of my daughter's sails. How are teachers able to make such definitive decisions about this part of our brave new world? I taught a college class, and I know we got caught in that, where I look at something and I had to ask the student, did you really write this? I go, yeah, I really wrote it. Why do you think I didn't write it? I'm like, because you don't put two words together in class, and then all of a sudden you're using 5-syllable words here, right? So that is hard. We talked a little bit about that. How you can tell a student you get an F because I think you plagiarized. There are programs to pick that up if you're like writing out of the old encyclopedia or writing for something online, right? But AI is a different game.
So one of the challenges that teachers have today is how to keep up with technology and keep up with standards and keep up with all the other things they're responsible for. So in a situation like this, probably the best thing for a parent to do is to reach out directly to the teacher and start with the teacher. You don't have to start with administration, and just say, hey, I understand that you have a concern. I'd like to help you here. What are some other options other than an F? And request an opportunity for the child to maybe redo the work live and in person or under the tutelage of the parent. And in that situation, when you advocate like that, when you help the teacher understand, hey, I'm on your side and I want to make sure this is working out for my child as well, it gives that relationship between the parent and the teacher an opportunity to flourish. And in that space, I think the child will feel supported and hopefully fix that F.
And also lets the child know that there's going to be some accountability.
Absolutely.
But we're going to help work this whole thing out. All right, Jorge, I'm not good with computers. For reference, when I was in school, a computer was the size of a classroom. How can grandparents like me still help with schoolwork today? Maybe an after-school program. That is something that's so tough too, because I'm part of that computer generation. I remember a teacher saying, in the year so-and-so, most all of you will be working on computers. And we started laughing. We're like, oh, what's this, 2001 Space Odyssey? We're not working on. Guess what? We all work on computers in some way, including this little computer right here that almost everyone has, right? So is there a way for parents to be able to help, especially the young ones, to catch up?
Definitely. All school districts, including Dickinson, we do a lot of parent volunteers, but also a lot of workshops for our grandparents and parents to come in to give them one-on-one on how to use a computer, how to use the digital learning age, because everything they do now is digital.
What's a Google Doc?
Exactly. So our students are learning with the digital learning, and we want our grandparents and parents to be involved in that. So we have encouraged workshops, volunteer to come in and get on a computer and we'll show you how to use it. We'll show you what we have.
And Evan, even we're helping the students, right? Because sometimes they don't have that support at home.
Well, yes, but also I want to say some things haven't changed, right? And so you can still help a child to, maybe keep a planner, an old school planner, writing assignments down. You can teach them how to advocate for themselves and connect with their teacher to set up a meeting to talk about, something that maybe the grandparent doesn't understand. So some of those foundational things still haven't changed. So I think that grandparents and parents whose school, yes, very much look different than their kids' school or grandkids' school, I think that some of those core tenets still haven't changed. They can help them advocate for themselves.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, I got to see it in front of me. I have to write it down. So there's the power of writing connects to the brain differently as well. But I got to write it down because if it's in an electronic device somewhere, it will stay there forever. I'm sure there are assignments in there from 1901 that I still haven't taken care of. But yeah, so there's that added support right there. All right, Keisha, this will be my daughter's first year as a teacher. So she's excited now, but we know teachers do a lot with very little. What resources or support are schools and district providing to help great educators stay in the profession and avoid that teacher burnout? So you two have gone through the teacher track and moved up in your field to support teachers and students and parents for that matter. We were joking earlier in the green room, almost every teacher has their favorite age group, and yours was?
That's right.
Dr. Burke?
5th grade.
5th grade, okay.
Yes.
Oh, why 5th grade? Because they were old enough to...
They're old enough and you can still play with them, but they're learning and they're always listening and always wanting to make you happy.
Yeah, so. Before they head off to middle school. But you're like, oh, I love middle school. Forget elementary.
Middle school's great because their brains have developed a little bit more. You can have conversations with them about real things that are challenging them in life, and at the same time they're still kids. They still like to go outside and have recess and run around. So it's a great age.
Because you said when they're in elementary school.
When they're in elementary school, sometimes hygiene is an issue. So, be it snot or ringworm,
little lice.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. But in middle school, you actually taught in a middle school where a lot of the kids had ankle monitors.
Yeah. So when we have kids who sometimes make bad decisions, they have that. But honestly, I felt more at home with kids who had made bad decisions because a lot of times, they were coming to terms with it's probably not working out very well for me. I probably should change my ways.
This is an opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. As opposed to a chore that sometimes I think we still look at school as a chore, as opposed to an opportunity. All right. So as Keisha was saying, how do we keep teachers motivated?
So one of the key things is, as a parent, if I were a parent of an educator, what I would do is spend a lot of time supporting them. As a first-year teacher, I would go home and fall asleep because it was so hard. I'd wake up at like 9 o'clock at night, grade papers until midnight, wake up, and it's just this cycle. If you are a parent if you're supporting a first-time, or early educator, bring them food. Make sure they have something healthy for lunch. Encourage them, if not by buying a great water bottle for them to drink and stay hydrated. Health is a really important thing, and first-year teachers especially, they walk into that cauldron of bacteria and viruses, and they get sick a lot, and and they have to push through. So anything you can do to support them is probably the best thing. You're not going to help them on technical things, but you sure can help them on support.
Yeah, I just remember the first day of school, my son in kindergarten, and all of a sudden we saw all these parents, when we showed up on the right day, the next day, all the parents were walking in with flowers and things, and I was like, I did not get this memo. So I walked into a teacher's classroom and said, your Range Rover's on the way. Ordered it. They were backed up. But I did throughout the year send little notes, and then Christmas and times like that, just say have a great break, have a great spring break, because I wanted them to know I appreciated that they're spending more time with my child during the day than I am, and I appreciated their efforts. All right. Zane, when I was in school, we didn't only focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. We also had shop, drafting, welding, home ec, etc. It was great for those of us who were not college bound but career bound. Why did schools get rid of this, and how can we get them back? P.S. I became an iron fabricator because of my classes and have made a great career from it. College feels so far off and so expensive, and when should families start preparing financially? That's been a big topic right now, right?
Right.
And a lot of it has been, if we can't afford college, or maybe you're just that's not your track.
Right.
So are we starting to put those things back in?
It has always been back in. So CTE, Career Technical Education, has always been part of our K-12
Why do we think it disappeared?
initiative. I don't know, but it's always been when you get to high school, that is something that is part of our accountability, but it's not just about accountability. We know that students, not every child is going to go to a 4-year college, 2-year college.
Nor do they need to.
Nor they need to. They can choose technical or go into one of our services. And so we ensure that in our high schools across the state of Texas, and Region 4 helps us tremendously with that, is we have a vast array of choices for our students, from plumbing to air conditioning to robotics to anything that our students are interested in. We want to ensure that that's what our job is, to give them choices after college.
Those can be careers or
Right.
pay for you to go through college and graduate without being
Exactly.
$200,000 in debt. All right, Sammy, my parents pushed me so hard to be a straight A student that it made school miserable growing up. Now my son is a solid B student, and I'm trying not to repeat that pressure. But am I letting him coast too much in the name of balance? I don't want to send the message that good enough is all it takes in life. All right, Evan.
You know, I think you got to set goals. Talk to kids about where they are now, who they want to be, and break down the steps to get there. And that involves hard work, involves dedication, sustained attention, you know, et cetera. So I think nowadays you lead kids into those conclusions, their own conclusions of, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is you would like A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Now let's talk about the path to get there. Let's write down those steps, and then I'm going to help you and with some reminders, daily reminders, weekly reminders of this conversation. And these were your conclusions, not mine.
Yeah.
And so I think that kids are in the driver's seat a little bit more. And so we need to talk to the children, to the kids, to the students, to these young adults, and really have those conversations, lay out those steps with them, so they feel like it's their decision, right? It's
and
their
sometimes
project.
I've heard a kid say, "I just want to fit in. I don't want to stand out that way." I'm like, okay. All right, I'm going to round out with, and we have many more questions here, but I want to round out with, in this segment, the best thing that we can do to start the school year off right.
The best thing you can do is make sure your child is ready. So as they get ready for the school year, sleep patterns are things that have been disrupted by summer, and making sure they get to bed early, making sure that they are well hydrated. Give them a high protein snack to take to school so that they can have something in their bellies.
And I'm going to stop you right there, because a little bit later on in the show, we're going to show you how to pack a better lunch program. All right. More